The idea for this build came from the synergy between being a Hunter Ranger and an Elemental Monk. The Hunter Ranger allows us to know our enemy's weaknesses, and the Elemental Monk gives us the flexibility to exploit them. Little did I know is this combo would also make a high mobility control striker. This is the Elemental Hunter. Alright, here's our character. Not much going on yet, but BAM! We're a Dragonborn. You can be any Dragonborn, but because it matched our wardrobe, we went with blue Dragonborn. On top of that, you're going to get an elemental breath weapon, in this case, lightning breath. Pretty sick. We also get the same resistance, so now we have lightning resistance, but the main reason we're with Dragonborn is a secret that we're going to talk about later. Hang tight. Quick note is that this whole build is going to be based off of the 2024 Player's Handbook only. So if that's the only book you got, you're in luck. But we're not going to be just any Dragonborn, we're going to be a Monk Dragonborn. For our stats, we want Dexterity and Wisdom as our primaries. We're going to keep them relatively similar, but leaning Dex. Then we're going to take Constitution as our secondary, and from there we're going to dump the rest. None of them are important. For our background, we're going to be taking Sailor. It has Dexterity and Wisdom, which we're going to need both of those in spades, but on top of that, it's going to give us the Tavern Brawler feat. The Tavern Brawler feat is going to do several good things for us. Whenever we attack with an unarmed strike, which is going to be very often, trust me, and we roll a 1, we get to re-roll it, and that's pretty fantastic. It's going to give us improvised weapons. I really feel like every monk should get improvised weapon. It just is very Jackie Chan-esque, where he's picking up a bucket and kicking the crap out of someone, or using a ladder. But we get that with this monk. We can use any old object lying around, including a pine cone. And once we hit with an unarmed strike, we do get a single 5-foot push that is free. They don't get to make a save against that. And this really opens up a hit and run playstyle even from level 1, because we're going to do our normal attacks, and if we hit with our unarmed attack, well, now it pushes them 5 feet back, and we can retreat. This is a very small version of what we're going to be doing on a much larger scale throughout the build, which I like, and then we also can mix in breath weapon attacks with all of our normal attacks, which is cool. I mean, it's pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward, but it has those edges that make it its own thing, and I like it. Monk 2, we get unarmored movement, and we get our Monk's Focus. This allows us to use our focus points to do a bunch of new things, including Flurry of Blows, Step of the Wind, and Patient Defense. All of them have their place, but we want to build our game plan around damage. Monk level 3, we're going to get Deflect Attacks, which is pretty sick. It's going to allow us to deflect attacks. This is cool because it used to be only ranged attacks, now it's anything with bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, so melee attacks can now be redirected as well. Very Monk-like, very cool, but far more important were the Elemental Monk. The Elemental Monk adds 10 feet to our unarmed strikes and gives it an elemental damage type from Acid, Cold, Fire, Lightning, or Thunder. This is plus 10 feet. It adds 10 feet, it doesn't make it 10 feet. So now we have a 15-foot range with our unarmed strikes. This makes us a natural hit and runner. Not only because we can hit them from 15 feet away, but it also gives us the ability to either push or pull our enemies based off of a saving throw. This makes us instantly a great control option because we have our normal attack, then we have 2 Flurry of Blows attacks, which Flurry of Blows increases in value once you get this feature because it gives you more control. It allows you to push people further or more consistently. At this point, we already have up to 35 feet of controlled movement per turn. Now that's including a key point, 25 feet without a key point, but that can be directed at one person. You can just knock them super far away, and our extra movement helps us take advantage of that. Or we can stand in the center of a bunch of enemies and push them and scatter them and blow them all away so they're not in a formation anymore. Now they're scattered and can be individually taken out. Level 4, I'm going to be taking Charger. There are probably better feats, but it fits the flavor and I think it's cool. Charger is going to allow us to, if we have 10 feet of movement first, which is pretty easy for us, and then we hit with an attack, we can then push them 10 feet based off the save. So this increases our pushing potential by 10 more. More importantly, it's going to increase our dex, giving us 18 in dex. We're going to bounce between Dex and Wisdom throughout this build, so now we're 18 Dex, then we'll go into Wisdom, then Dex, then Wisdom, and that's how I plan on doing it. We also get Slow Fall. I love Slow Fall. It's useful for certain situations, but more importantly is it opens up a lot of different playing opportunities where you can ambush people from above in cool ways, and Slow Fall is just a lot of fun. Level 5, we get the all-important extra attack. It's even more important with us because it gives us another attack to push people 10 feet with. So at this point, we have 55 feet per turn using a key point Focus point, my bad. Either directed at one enemy or many enemies, so we have a lot of control we can bring to the table, all while not putting ourselves at risk because we're doing it as a hit and runner. We're hitting from 15 feet away, and then we're moving to a position where they have a hard time hitting us back. Stunning Strike here, we're not really built for it. We're not really focused on Stunning Strike, but it can do some cool things. So one of the amazing things we can do by knocking people around is we can knock them into dangerous territory. Well, if we combine that with a Stunning Strike, let's pretend we just punch them into some lava. Well, now they're either going to be stunned inside that lava, can't move their turn, and they spend their whole turn sitting in lava, or they're going to have half movement, in which case it might be difficult terrain and they go down to a fourth movement, and they can't get out. So they're stuck in the lava anyways. Look for those you can't lose situations with this character to use Stunning Strikes. And don't think that you have to have lava nearby. If any of your teammates have something like Spirit Guardians going on, use that. And now, for that secret we talked about with Dragonborn. At level 5, Dragonborn gives us a flying speed. Now, up to this point, we've relied on the environment to do our environmental damage. Well, that changes here. Because we can fly above our enemies' heads 10 to 15 feet, when we attack them, we can pull them towards us 10 feet, which then they instantly fall back down from, taking a d6 of bludgeoning damage and falling prone. So now our control isn't just about pushing enemies away or pushing them into dangerous situations. Now it's about knocking them prone and reducing their movement and giving any melee attackers advantage on their attack. This can be really good, and the nice thing is we can do it to a bunch of different enemies, kind of scattering everyone to the wind. It's honestly a really good combo for very low investment. Just by being Dragonborn and an Elemental Monk, we can do this whenever we want, once per day, and it's really, really powerful. Level 6, we move from our Elemental Monk into a Ranger. Where Monk really gave us speed and control, Ranger is here to give us single target damage, and it does a good job at that with very low investment. With level 1, we're going to get Spellcasting and Favored Enemy. Favored Enemy is a fantastic combination with this build because we get so many attacks. We can have eventually up to 6 attacks per turn with this build, and that's 6d6 with Favored Enemy for very low cost. As for spellcasting, we are investing in our wisdom, so this isn't going to be bad. I don't care what level you're at, Entangle can still be pretty useful. Fog Cloud can absolutely still be useful. It's a total massive smoke bomb, and I still like Ensnaring Strike for certain situations. I'm gonna do a quick spiel about this because I'm passionate about it, but a fight avoided is often as good as a fight won. And so a spell like Fog Cloud, 1 level spell slot, can create a smoke screen where you can all retreat from, and they might not be able to know how to chase you because they're freaking blind. That's a first level spell that can end combats without even having to get into the combat. Absolutely worth it. Ranger 2 opens up our weapons. We are going to take mastery in both the short sword and the scimitar. This is going to allow us to dual wield with the Nick and Vex properties. This gives us an extra attack essentially, and we can also take the fighting style to weapon fighting style, so now it's as good as a new attack. This is particularly good with monks because these weapons are monk weapons, and so they get to be the same dice as our monk weapon dice, currently a d8, so it's already a buff. But it's especially a buff on that third attack because it's as good as any other attack. Now this incentivizes us to actually get within 5 feet. We really haven't had much of an incentive to get within 5 feet up to this point. Well, now we do because we get an extra attack when we do. So this opens up some brand new combos. We can do our 3 weapon attacks, and then we can follow it up with our unarmed strike, hit an enemy, and then blast them away with everything we got. This allows us to continue being a hit and run striker, and if we use Flurry of Blows, we can combine it with Charger, because after we push them the first time, we can take a couple steps back, move a couple steps forward, and hit them with our second unarmed strike, and we either can do more damage or blast them away. I'm probably blasting them away. We also get Expertise at this level. I'm probably putting it into Acrobatics just because I want to do cool things with my monk. Level 8, we go Hunter 3. We become the Elemental Hunter at this point. We are a hunter. This allows us, whenever we put our hunter's mark on someone, that we get to know all their strengths and weaknesses. This is pretty neat because we can exploit it, and that's amazing because we're going to be doing a crap ton of damage when you combine hunter's mark and a full volley with them being vulnerable to it. It's going to be very, very good. Now, I don't know how many creatures in the monster manual are going to have vulnerabilities. The last monster manual, there really weren't many. I wish there were more. But if you have someone who is doing homebrew, this can be really, really awesome. And it's just cool flavor. That's the most important thing for me, is it's a cool combo, cool flavor, and if you have a cool DM, it might come up here and there. All that aside, you're also going to know their resistances and their immunities, which is incredible for your teammates to know. Even if someone can't explain it, at least they won't be wasting actions doing something that they're going to be completely immune to. We also get either Colossus Slayer, which lets us do more damage once per turn to someone who's already taken damage, but it has to be a weapon attack. Or we can do Horde Breaker, which allows us to basically attack a second enemy if they're 5 feet within the first, so long as they're within our range, again with a weapon. We can use either of these very effectively. Horde Breaker allows us to do a new combo. Imagine we're chasing someone down. We can use our 15-foot unarmed attack to grab them and pull them towards us if we run out of movement speed, and now we can go directly into our volley, which sets us up to do a Horde Breaker right away. But just naturally, we're going to get Horde Breaker all the time. Our allies are going to do some damage to them. We have 3 weapon attacks to begin. That's going to do some damage to them, followed up by some unarmed attacks. We're going to be just fine. We can also use Horde Breaker pretty well because we have the ability to control people's movement. We can knock them next to an ally and then go hit them to proc Horde Breaker. So we're actually pretty good at using Horde Breaker. Most people aren't. We are. Level 9, we're going back into Monk, and we're going to get Force Damage. That just adds to our damage types. Now we have Force Damage. If they're weak to it, we can exploit it. I don't know of anyone weak to Force Damage, but I also don't know anyone immune to it. So there's that. At this level, we get Elemental AoE. Now, it's not the best AoE ever. In fact, it's pretty mediocre, but we're a Marshal with AoE. So there's that. Most people cannot do AoE damage. We can. And plus, it's kind of cool. Past these levels, we're going to keep doing the same thing. We're going to keep going into Monk. Monk X at this point. Now, this is going to just do more Monk things. We're going to get more Flurry of Blows, which means we do everything we do even better now. Flurry of Blows is definitely our specialization when it comes to our key points. Stunning Strike, Step of the Wind, and Patient Defense all get put on the back burner to Flurry of Blows with this particular build. What I like about a hit and run playstyle is it increases the skill ceiling. When should we be far away? When should we be close? When should we be avoiding damage? When should we be taking the damage? You have to read the battlefield as a hit and runner and change your style for the particular need. As a straight tank, you're always just going to be tanking damage. With this build, you get to be a lot more flexible. Sometimes you can tank damage, sometimes you can absolutely avoid it, sometimes you can be up in someone's face, sometimes you can be hitting someone and then getting the hell out of dodge. It's a lot of fun playing that very skill-oriented playstyle. You guys may not know this, but D&D Daily has an email list, and on this email list, we like to send you guys free stuff. Like Korzov the Traveling Merchant. This orc merchant travels the world. You probably won't run into him often, but when you do, you're lucky. He'll pull off his absolutely oversized, gigantic backpack off his back, pull out some unique wares that aren't sold anywhere else, and you're going to have an interesting interaction with a quirky NPC that your players may or may not love. If you guys want Korzov, pretty easy to get. You're going to just sign up for our email list down below, and it's yours. And keep in mind that the longer you're with the email list, the more modular pieces you're going to get, like Korzov or many other things. Alright, that's it for today, my friends. Hope you have yourselves an incredible day, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.